So this is when we actually started to really break down into panels, into pages, into a script. So what I did is I wrote the script out page by page with panel breakdowns as well as dialogue. And this is where we decided to actually name the character Sam because we thought it was going to make it easier to give a name to this character. It's never said out loud anywhere. It's only just for us to know, but we decided to call the character Sam. We did panel by panel breakdowns. This is something that is, from my point of view, from an action point of view, not prescriptive in terms of what actually happens in each panel. And you'll see why that's important because they are going to shift. But essentially, we read through the entire breakdown of the script so that Keith could then begin the illustrations.
I wanted to slow down just a little bit here because
Mhm.
I still needed to know like how to block or stage this setting, right? So we
Exactly.
went through the script and I realized I have no idea where like everything in the room is. I
Mhm.
have no idea where the light is coming from. And until I figured that out, a lot of like the panel decisions couldn't happen. And so we decided to take the second part of that episode and go through here's the layout of this apartment, here's the kitchen, here's where each um, door is, where the light may be coming from, and some of the uh, playing off of some of the descriptions you gave me on each page with what
Mhm.
was happening per panel. I was like, okay, I need to make sure that there's like the TV is placed opposite of where the door is so that when the person's looking in the TV, they can see the reflection of the door, right? So these are things, this is a good idea to do if you're trying to map out visually where things are to do some kind of layout so that you can actually have an idea of how big your space is, where things are located, where you may have to plant something ahead of time, like the TV and looking at the TV and having the reflection of the door in the TV. If you don't actually have the TV in the right location early on, then you may have to go back and redraw it because you realize that the TV is actually a really important element, right? So all of that stuff is important in regards to figuring out before you get into a more finished part of the story.
And this is actually also when we made the decision that this wouldn't be set in current days, that this was going to be set in a previous decade because we thought it was important that that Sam didn't have access to immediate communications, like couldn't just go in a group chat and find people who have weird doors and stuff like that. So this was
Mhm.
also visually important too because, as you saw earlier, the look of the television, the kind of phone, all that kind of thing plays in to setting us in the right time and space.
Yeah, and that previous page there where I was showing that there was like a pile of books. That's the person going analog and researching like
Yes.
what this door is like. Did it exist before? In the layout of the apartment. So, um, it a lot of these things aren't necessarily thought of ahead. They kind of come out as you're working on it, and then then we talk about it and go, hey,
Mhm.
when could we do this setting? Does the '80s work for this? Is this a current setting? Like, how is that gonna affect the story? And so it's you can have that ahead of time, but in the way we're working, we're just kind of, figuring it out as we go.
Yes, and sometimes things that you thought about in your head aren't always as implied as you thought they were. So having that conversation is incredibly helpful because then you do find things that weren't necessarily obvious but need to be obvious.